What's going on, guys? It's Hank from Sprues and Brews, and today we're going to be taking a look at this little dude. This is Legend Productions 1/48 scale resin Erich Hartmann figure, and today we're going to take a peek at how I painted him up. This is a great little figure to add to your collection, and an awesome way to spice up your 1/48 BF109 builds. So, let's take a look. Alright guys, so here's our figure. I've primed him off camera with a coat of Vallejo black acrylic primer to get him ready for painting, and he's been super glued to this little DIY painting jig I use. It's just a screw and a block of wood, super simple, but gets the job done. Here is a look at the packaging again. We'll be using this for reference as we paint up our figure. Before we get started, we'll do a quick overview of the paints we're going to use. This is German Field Gray from Vallejo. A little dark flesh for the skin tone. Some Dunkelgelb, we're actually going to use this for his hair. Amomig Pure Red for figures. Vallejo Red Leather. Vallejo German Camo Dark Green. Vallejo White Aluminum. Amomig Crema Weiss. Amomig Medium Blue for figures. And then Amomig Outlining Black. This will just be to clean up some of our leather jacket, boots, etc. I like to start by blocking in these Luftwaffe flight pants with the medium blue. It's the biggest section we're going to have to paint, so I like to start with that. Give it a nice coat. You can always come back and touch it up later. A few coats are always good to get a nice, thorough coverage there. Next, we're going to move on to the face. We're using that Vallejo Dark Flesh, and we're going to block that in. Don't worry if you overpaint a little bit, get it on his flight cap or on the collar of the jacket. We can always go back and clean that up. We're going to move on to our belt here. We're going to use Vallejo Red Leather to pull out the details on that. Once again, don't worry about the lines. We can go back and tidy those up with some flat black afterwards. Starting to look a little more like a person now. Moving on up to the head and neck area, we're going to use a very fine brush here to put some German Field Gray on the top of his officer's cap. We're also going to use this to detail in the undershirt. This provides a nice contrast between the black leather of the flight jacket and the dark flesh of his face and neck. Unless you've got the steadiest hand in the world, you're definitely going to make some mistakes at this tiny scale. So one of the beauties of acrylics, you can always go back, paint over your mess ups. No big deal at all. I know I made quite a few during this process, but that's all part of it. Here I'm painting in the belt loops of his flight jacket. Important to note that when we primed him in flat black, that kind of covers the painting process for the jacket. So the only time you're going to see me painting the jacket is to clean up areas that I've made mistakes. Kinda tough to see here, but I'm using some Ammo Dunkelgelb to paint in a little tuft of hair popping out from under the officer's cap. Erich Hartmann was known as the Blonde Knight, so we have to make sure he has that signature blonde hair. For the collar of the flight jacket, I'm using German Camo Dark Green. I find this works pretty well for black shearling on a black leather jacket. It's a nice contrast, but it's subtle enough. And then using a tiny brush, we are going to use some Vallejo White Aluminum to pull out the details of his medals, his Knight's Cross, and any of the insignia on his uniform. So this is going to go on that eagle on the breast of his jacket, the Knight's Cross, like I said, belt buckles, buckles on the boots, and the detail on his cap. Metallic paints can be particularly difficult to work with, so if you make any mistakes, just go back with the undercolor and clean up your edges. For a finishing touch, we're going to put a little tiny dot of red right in the middle of our officer's cap. Here I'm just going back and hitting some of those metallic details that I missed, again using that Vallejo White Aluminum on the straps of his boots and the strap of his holster. And the final thing we're going to need to paint is the trim on the epaulets of his jacket. For that, I'm using Amomig's Crema Weiss. It's just a nice off-white, eggshell white, and it's going to pull out those details. Once again, we're going to go back in with flat black and just clean up those lines at the end. So here is our finished paint job. I think he looks pretty good, but he's a little shiny. The colors are a little bold at this point, so we're going to have to do some weathering to knock that down, make everything look a little more realistic. To protect our paint job from the weathering process, I've sprayed the entire figure with a gloss varnish that's going to protect our paint coat. And we're going to use some Ammo Dark Wash to create some shadow effects. So we're gonna paint the entire figure with a coat of this dark wash. It's gonna slide into all the nooks and crannies and create some artificial shadow, like I mentioned. And then we're gonna go back and clean this up to get to a point where we like the effect. So once you've got the dark wash on the figure itself, switch to a clean, dry brush. And we're gonna wanna pull off the excess wash on the raised areas of the figure. So the cheekbones, the chin, the nose, and any raised elements in the folds of his uniform. This is where there wouldn't be any natural shadow. So the capillary action of the brush is actually gonna suck that dark wash off the figure and into the brush. You can clean off your brush using a paper towel, go back and pull off some more. And we're just gonna keep repeating this process until we get to a level where we've just got dark wash in the deepest shadows, like the eye sockets and the deepest folds of the jacket. And it's gonna give us a nice natural shadow effect, like you can see here. For our very last step, we're gonna let that dark wash dry completely, and then we're gonna spray our whole figure with a coat of matte varnish. That's gonna knock down the highest level of shininess on the figure and protect all of our work. With that done, we are ready to pop the figure off of our painting stand. And just like that, we've got an awesome little Erich Hartmann figure to jazz up your BF 109 builds. All right, guys, I hope you enjoyed the video. If you got something out of it, please hit that like button. It really helps me grow the channel. You can also subscribe for more scale modeling content. I try and post something at least once a week. And until next time, be well, happy building, cheers.